From the twisted realm of science and the darkest pits of reason comes chilling tales of godlessness. Bear witness to the unfathomable terror that is the Good Atheist.
But I wanted to talk about something first, and it's this song that I've had in my head all day today and last night, because I was trying to think, can I make a fun jingle for Good Atheist? And I'm like, I think that's my little micro project for myself. I think I'm going to work on a little jingle because I dig it. I dig little catchy tunes.
Well, here's the deal. We officially hit the point a while back where we were too big to keep on stealing people's music.
Yeah, well, that was a while ago.
It was a while back, and we kept doing it anyways, but now we're starting to take a look at all of the things that we're about to do, and we realize that if all of a sudden the great eye of the internet turned on us, we would probably be sued out of existence. So that's why we've been kind of
sketchy about the music.
Exactly. So I definitely think a jingle would be good. I wouldn't put all the hard work into it, because let me tell you what, it's really easy to get your idea out, but it's hard to make it sound good.
Well, I mean, I'm going to do just basically one part of the work. I have a friend who's, I have a few musician friends, and just say, can you help me out here? Really, all I need is, the way that I figure it, is just specific layers of songs that can be recorded, and we have a recording studio.
What, this here?
You got it.
It's pretty different, but I know what you're talking about, and it does sound like a fun adventure. I give you thumbs up for doing this, so long as I get advance warning, because I don't like giving up my computer area to guitar playing yahoos.
You have a laptop. You'll be fine.
Yeah, it's true. And actually, speaking of that, it's actually nicer to be on the laptop because, man...
The office is a little hot.
When we set up our home office in the garage, it seemed like a decently okay idea. And we figured, it's Canada. Summer won't get that hot, but summers are pretty hot. And we don't get to crack the garage door open or turn on the fan when we're recording this thing because we want you to hear the garage echo sound just crystal clear.
I love echo. That's the thing we go for anyways.
So we could sound like God or Jesus?
Sure, man. I think
like
that
it.
you combine my somewhat thunderous voice, how I get sometimes, and put it in an echo chamber. Mm-hmm. I think I can sound a little bit like God.
Well, it's for the regular show, for the non-patrons, we've got Thou Shalt Buy Our Podcast. And it seems to work pretty well. We got quite a few people. And
that's who's listening to the show
exactly.
right now.
Shout out to y'all. We love you.
The hardcores.
And we're willing to get drenched and sweated in this. Seriously, at the end of every show, I have to have a shower because, man, by the end, I am just, it's like I got pushed into a pool.
Yeah, well, it's also all the eclectic energy from the radio show, We're so energetic. Well, I mean, I suppose...
We are. These things do suck the energy out of you.
They do.
They definitely do.
It's a performance to some degree. Okay, I wanted to talk about something. For those of you that don't go to the website, I put up a little post, and it was basically...
He does that from time to time, little posts.
A little post on this story, this non-story, basically, of all of these little girls that had apparently been married off by a bunch of, as child brides. And it made the rounds of a bunch of conservative blogs. And it got a little bit of credence, and I've been promoting like a motherfucker on Twitter, because I figure, Twitter is the future. I better get connected and better start having, stroking her.
It's the last bastion of people giving a shit about what other people are kind of hawking, Everywhere else, you send an email or you send a Facebook thing saying, check this out, and people are like, fuck you, stop spamming me. Twitter, everybody loves it. They're like, give me more things to look at, sir.
If people are still... sending spam emails. Have you not heard about fucking Twitter?
Oh, they've heard.
I mean, just stick to that, for God's sakes. You can have your own cult following if you can find enough cool stuff. But maybe that's part of the pressure, Everybody starts a Twitter account. They find a bunch of cool shit, and they realize they don't find anything. Other people find stuff for them that they themselves link to. So you kind of look lame maybe having only retweets on Twitter.
Everything is recycled. No one's got... I mean, we live off of recycled news. We are parasites of other happenings.
Fine, but we're at least culture jammers. I mean, we fucking remix it, It's not... What, are you a pre-recording, sir?
No,
everything's been done, man.
I just don't know about, say, that culture jammers and Yeah, I don't know about that. But
We're total culture jamming. Think about all the things we talk about. I mean, we don't only limit ourselves to atheism. We talk about all kinds of things: women's rights, gay issues.
Yeah, I know, but
fucking healthcare.
You usually only just in we always look at it from that religious angle, as in, why are religious people against these things?
Well, they're usually the bad guys, Darth Vader styles.
Yeah, it's true.
They just don't know they're Darth Vader yet. But you see, when your religion goes awry, you do turn into the big fucking badass guy with a lightsaber that kills everybody.
Well, I mean, different helmets. Some people, the Pope has one, and
don't wear helmets. I say helmeted organizations are scary and should be avoided. A forced hat is terrible.
I'm down with helmets on bikes, though. Can we agree with that? Wear your helmet when you're riding a bike. Can we talk about that?
That's fascism.
For just 1 second?
Fuck you, man. Fascism.
Have you seen the new bike helmets that people are wearing now?
Their new bike helmets? What, is it the one with the hair?
No,
is it
no,
the one that looked like froze?
No. They're just it's a bike helmet that looks more like what rollerbladers used to have. It's a redesigned bike helmet that doesn't look stupid.
Oh, you mean it's kind of like just a really simple headpiece?
Exactly. It basically it looks like a hockey helmet as opposed to what we had when we were kids, which looked like half a gigantic football / something you put your drinks in to keep cold. It was.
Yeah, it did look like one of those cheap-ass, portable coolers.
It's like a portable cooler shaped like half a football that you put on your head, and everybody made fun of you, and then they beat you up for wearing.
But luckily, you suffered little head damage. Just organ damage, and
Indeed.
you can heal from that.
Anyways, that's my little thing. Let's get back to this child bride thing that's been making the rounds.
All right, let's go back to that. So it all actually came from something that was rather innocent. It was a fairly big wedding. But the child brides were just part of the ceremony. They weren't child brides. They were just the nieces of the grooms.
They were just the little girls
that
were at the wedding.
At a fucking wedding, man. And, right when I was just doing a little bit of basic digging, because I obviously assumed if anybody sends me a message on Twitter, and they're usually a fan, it turns out that now I think I'm getting more Christians adding themselves on, trying to pay attention to what I say, which is always dangerous. Mm-hmm. You do not want them paying attention to what you say. But in any case, it really didn't take that much digging around to find the truth, but it was amazing how much people had jumped to conclusions about it. I'm really glad that it didn't pick up any steam in major, like atheist websites. It goes to show that we fucking research our shit more than most. Mm-hmm. And it was fairly predictable that, a lot of conservative blogs jumped on it like salivating dogs. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, look at them 400 child brides, and the liberal media doesn't want you to know. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? Do you hear yourselves, sir? Do you just have a fucking tape recorder? Can you listen to what you say? It's outrageous. It's ridiculous. I mean, that turned out to be the real story. The real story is the spin, man. And I can appreciate the degree of Islamophobia that perhaps I've been guilty of, poking and prodding that fire, making it burn bright.
Here's kind of my feeling behind that. Are we going to talk about Christopher Hitchens' article on how was it Harvard that was refusing
to publish?
Yale
University Press.
Yale University Press refused to publish a book about the
Danish cartoons.
Yeah, the Danish Mohammed
they
cartoons.
Censored it.
They took the images out because they were afraid that it was going to incite violence, and Christopher Hitchens was all over their ass for saying, this is terrible and stupid. But on the other hand, I agree, it's terrible and it sucks. But at the same time, these are scary fucking people, and they will kill people. And this is why there is a decent amount of Islamophobia that is, to a certain degree, legitimate, because Jesus Christ, they kill people. They go out and they say you have.
Well, who's they? Who is they?
Radical Islamo evil.
I know, but they are they. I got to stop using they. I have to stop using they. Of fundamentalists are still just a small portion, a small representation. I mean, the funniest thing I found was when they surveyed a bunch of countries asking, do you think it's right to preemptively attack any nation to protect yourself? You assume that most countries would say, like, no, it's not right. That's how most countries feel. And it wasn't any different in Islamic or Muslim countries. It was not that different. It was not significantly different. Most people kind of value the same things. It's just all those the bad apples, man. They do rot everything. But it again, like I think in the analogy that Sam Harris had is that really the problem is
the moderates embolden the fundamentalists.
Well, it's also the very tree itself is troubling. We don't need any rotten apples. We don't need any trees. We don't need the religion tree. I'm not saying chop it down. I'm saying let's move past. Let's move beyond it. Let's not feed ourselves from simply apples because the bad ones are poisonous.
Because, I mean, we're seeing the result of everybody stirring up Christian fundamentalism in this country, abortion doctors being murdered and stuff like that. But
you can't stop performing abortions because they are going to kill abortion doctors. It's the same idea.
I agree,
you can't
but
stop
I'm not
going to. They are going to do something.
I'm never going to give anybody shit for saying I personally will not perform abortions or I personally will not be involved in producing this book because I'm afraid that it will result in people dying. I can understand that. I agree with Christopher Hitchens' point that you don't want to say that the blood will be on your hands because of it.
No. That is very much the wrong attitude to take.
But I can understand the people that decide that they don't want to instigate that and they want to stay outside of that whole argument if they can. Because the reality of the situation is they published the book with the cartoons in it and people could die. It's very unfortunate, and that's what we need to look at and concentrate on rather than the idea of, it's the free...
Well, how are you supposed to concentrate on it? What are you going to say about it? What is to be said? What is the solution?
We need to move past it. I mean, say what you will about Christian fundamentalists, they are killing less people than Muslim fundamentalists right now, which means that they're pseudo-winning, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know how to qualify it here, but it is. There you go. There it is.
Maybe you could say they're more civilized, but again, I guess that's a very. Somebody would accuse me of what how could I say cultural elitism by saying that, but I'm like, no, I'm sorry. It is a matter of how civilized you are. If you bury gays alive, you're not a civilized country. You're just not. You are a barbaric country. You may have aspects of civility, but if it's not a universal principle, then how can you yourself be civil?
Well, I suppose maybe we should be taking a look at it from a region-to-region basis and based on society as opposed to religion, because I don't know. I mean, Afghanistan is a much more violent place, and we shouldn't be shocked that horrific things happen there on a regular basis. And for us to blame it because of, say, fundamentalist Muslims, I mean, it could very easily be fundamentalist Christians.
Well, look at Nigeria. I mean, I was joking around saying, like, look, I'm not a biggest fan of a lot of religions, and you could pretend, you could go around saying, oh, well, there's so many good things that Christians have done, and you're like, you're still doing messed up shit. Go to Nigeria where they fucking burn people alive for being witches, where they kill or torture children that they accuse of witchcraft. It's messed up, and you know what they're following? They're following the Bible. They're following the Old Testament that says you shall not suffer a witch. I mean, they have 3 parts in the Old Testament that tell you to kill witches.
Kill them.
It's not a fucking discussion. It's not don't trust witches and send them away peacefully. No, it's do not suffer them, kill them, burn them alive. And interestingly enough, you know why they burn witches alive? They burn them alive because they don't want to shed any blood. So basically, because your blood is cooked, no blood has been shed. So they feel that they've done the right thing. I mean, they were burning these witches thinking that they were doing something right. They were like, well, we're sending you to heaven by burning you.
Purified by fire?
They thought they were the good guys. They thought they were the good guys. And that's the scary thing about religion is that those crazy motherfuckers think they're the good guys. They don't think they're the baddies. The baddies never think they're the baddies. That's the whole thing. They just don't. The best baddies think they're the goodies. And they ignore the entire world, calling them monsters and animals, because they have the shield of religious delusion to cushion them from reality. Oh, well, you can't judge me. Only God judges me. An invisible entity judges you? Uh-oh, we're in for some fucking trouble now. And you are the one who's personally interpreting what that invisible entity is saying? Oh, no. That's psychopathy, sir.
Psychopathy?
Yeah.
What's psychopathy?
It's being the fact of being a psychopath.
Oh, okay.
That's how that's That's how that's said and pronounced.
Psychopathy.
That's right. I know it doesn't sound right, but it is right.
It really doesn't sound right, but I'll take your word on it. I'm not.
Please do.
But here's the thing: you might just have listened to some stuffy British idiot who's saying it the British, aka wrong way.
No, it's not the British way. It's I do listen to a lot of lectures on psychology. So yes, it is psychopathy.
Okay, cool. I'm down.
It's not psychopathy.
Yep,
that would be wrong.
That's my new word of the day, or the new pronunciation. I'm always finding out that I pronounce words wrong. It's very unfortunate, especially on the radio. Very embarrassing.
Yeah, what was your big one? There was the hyperbole.
I
love the hyperbole.
I was talking about, I didn't realize her hyperbole was hyperbole. I thought it was hyperbole for a long time because I only read it. I lived in a place where no one said hyperbole. It's very unfortunate, so I only read it in books, and I used to throw it around thinking I was smart. That's just some pretty serious hyperbole right there.
That's not embarrassing at all.
I was nothing but an educated idiot.
Well, that's why in education typically there is a culling process of saying, well, that was a great word and it fit perfectly. Unfortunately, you
pronounced it wrong. You sound like an idiot. It's like did we talk about it on the last radio show where our prime minister put an extra U in Nunavut? Was it Nunavut?
Yeah, our other radio show. Basically, the whole shtick is Iqaluit, is one of the territories in Canada, and basically he misspelled it, or his office misspelled it. I don't know who did, but he put an extra U, which translate to people with unwiped asses.
I just love how they have a word, and it's so close to the name of the area.
It is a little bit. I mean, did no one I know for a fact that probably were. Well, okay, I don't know for a fact, but somebody had to make fun of it when you're making fun of your province's name.
It's
kids,
like, absolutely.
Kids would tear into that. Mm-hmm. It's too easy.
Yeah,
you cannot put the name of a territory that could so easily have such a blunder as one misplaced letter. Mm-hmm. Or one letter too many. But honestly, we're not very good with native words. Seriously, like there are a lot of vowels.
But hey, at least Canada still has a decent amount of natives. Yes,
decent amount. What is a decent amount? What are you talking about?
I don't know.
We massacred them.
Yeah,
we massacred them. I'm being very serious here. The only natives I see are the homeless ones at Atwater, and they're always drunk.
We destroyed those people. North Americans in general, everybody living here, we destroyed those people. We should feel pretty bad about that.
I do feel pretty bad, but you're not reminded every day unless you go to Atwater at night, and then you're reminded, and you're just like, no, but you didn't do it. That doesn't absolve you though, but you didn't do it.
Yeah, we just have to look for it. That's the whole thing. I always kind of figure that we still owe them. We still kind of have to try and make it right. But it's difficult situations like this where you're trying to do stuff like that. I mean, look at Afghanistan and Iraq as perfect examples of us trying to make something right and try and get people somewhere. It's like
you know what? I hate to say it, but I remember a show that had a fucking good philosophy. What was it called? The Prime Directive? Jeez, I think that was a really good idea in terms of most of our foreign policy. Do not interfere. Please don't interfere.
Yeah, but there was a lot of Star Trek episodes where the Prime Directive became a pain in the ass. Best rule: be flexible, be reasonable. Don't slaughter people. That's
always the best rules. The ones that can sometimes be broken. Who has a rule that can't be broken? It's like
God.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And those are not. There are no laws, even in the Ten Commandments, that don't occasionally need to be broken. Give me a break. You're starving to death. You're going to steal? Of course you're going to steal.
Is it moral? Of course it is.
Now, somebody's trying to kill you and your family. You kill them in retaliation. What the fuck is wrong with that?
Well, retaliation or defense?
Well, okay, defense.
Retaliation is a little
That's a Freudian slip because, I obviously realize I'm a gentleman, but
you also realize that if someone tried to hurt you and your family, you would come down upon them
with almighty wrath. It's an instinct. It's a reason why people kind of get off on that whole insanity plea. It's like, I went mad with rage. Shit happens. There is a killer in all of us potentially. Don't fucking think that that's not true. When push comes to shove. That's why the whole rules that can't be broken is kind of dumb. We realize that there are always exceptions. And we just try to deal with it the best way that we can. That's the new morality. That's the kind of one that's working out for us. Because when it's always an eye for an eye and stone everybody for whatever offense, it's like stone them for saying my name in vain. Oh, that's great for using the name in vain. Whoops. You know, who hasn't screamed out, fuck, Jesus Christ, bastard, whenever they hit themselves with a hammer? I know I do.
I've put together some really horrifically offensive ones, and I you know, when you hurt yourself badly, they can come out at a bad time, and it's just horrible. And I'm not going to repeat some of the ones that I've done, but I've strung together some pretty horrible.
I think that when it's natural to swear when you get hurt, because I think you want to injure something. You know, you know that a word is aggressive, so you say, you're like, fuck, you're trying to hurt something else. You got hurt, you want reciprocity. It's the most immediate thing that you want.
Take a look at Quebec. Quebec has the best swearing in the world because it's all based on religion, and I love it. It's good fun.
Yeah. You could string it on endlessly.
Christ tabarnak, l'esti de tabarouette, tabarnouche.
Well, there's a kind of like an old Quebec saying about why all the swear words are essentially about religion, is that you swear about things you're repressed about. And it makes sense because, you know, English were prudes, so their swear words are all sexual related. In French, you barely use sex. You're always using religion. It's like, because that's the thing that you had a really big problem with. That's the thing that was kind of ruining your day. And for all the Protestant prudes, you know, it's sex. That's on their minds all the time.
And apparently shitting. I understand that, man. That's what I'm a prude about.
Well, shitting is a universal fucking thing, you know, across the board. I mean, trust me, the French will talk a lot about merdes. You know, there's a lot of merde going around, and plus, I mean, you know, it's influenced by the French from France, and they got dog shit everywhere. So of course they're going to constantly say and step into that merde.
Well, you know, I hear apparently that they fixed it up. I went to Paris. My parents took me a long time ago, and I will agree, terrible shit everywhere. Apparently they've cleaned it up though over the past like 10 years.
I'm sure that they've reduced it, but you can never stop that much dog shit. It's going to be around. It's going to be a reality. I mean, look where we live. There's dog shit.
Dude, I actually am very impressed because and we should look some more into this because it'll be fun to talk about it, is that what governments are able to do as far as shifting people's perceptions and shifting people's behavior. Because back in the day, no one wore fucking seatbelts, and back in the day, no one gave a shit about drunk driving. There are still areas that don't put money into, you know, don't drive drunk and drunk driving shaming things. That drunk driving is no big deal. I hear down in Texas, everyone drunk drives and no one cares. And it's a big fucking problem. But in other areas where lots of money is put into all these different initiatives, the government can make you change your mind about how you're going to do things.
It softens you up for the most part. You know, it pussifies us. It's a good thing. We need to be pussified. This whole idea that you can go and get drunk and drive your car, that's the most irresponsible bullshit ever. I mean, for me, I'm not a driver, so I can't comment from that, but I think that a lot of people underestimate the dangers of driving. They just think it's no big deal. Well, a lot of people fucking die every year in car accidents, and, you know, a lot of them, they didn't do anything wrong. It was just somebody else who fucking lost control, got drunk, didn't pay attention. So it's not, you can't universally feel safe saying, well, I'm a good driver, I don't get into accidents. Accidents get into you. That's what happens, you know? And to think that you can go out with impaired skills, judgments, everything, because that's the biggest thing too. It's not so much that people's senses are dulled, it's that they are just riskier. And that's the real danger when you drink, because you will act a lot riskier. So it's a powder keg situation. It is unbelievable that people would just not give a shit that much. And I think that to some degree you're right. It is partly the government doing it. I think it's also the fact that we're just living a lot closer together. I mean, even though people are going to tell you, oh, well, you don't really know your neighbors and so on and so forth, in a sense, you're still in a kind of a dialogue between your neighbors. You can complain to the city or people can sort of like make their objections notified. They have lobby groups and stuff like that. They're very well-organized individuals that are exercising their will, and their will prevails, and we sort of, we go with it. So the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, for instance, they can push and bash your head in and say this is wrong, and what are you going to come back with anyways at the end of the day? But I want my independence. I want the right to, put everybody's lives in jeopardy, dear. There are some things you can't, contest. When they're brought to your attention, you cannot deny them, and you have to take a stance on them. I think that's the important thing. You have to get people to take stances on things. That's why I don't like agnosticism.
Well, the funny thing is, we listen to a lot of UK radio because North American radio sucks dicks. And one of the things that we realized is how much time the British government, how much time and money the British government spends on public service announcements.
Like, don't push your mate in the streets, mate.
Yeah, or don't get drunk and roll around in the bathroom, which was for the ladies. Which I guess that's
I don't know. Is that like deadly, or was it just don't do that because it's embarrassing?
Well, it was more of a don't. It was part of a whole. Don't get so drunk you become a raging retard and end up killing yourself or others or doing dangerous things and ruining your life and blah, blah, blah.
Well, binge drinking is becoming a serious problem in Britain, so
exactly.
They're spending accordingly like a responsible government usually tries to.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, that's socialism.
I think the government, I like these plans. So long as the governments are trying to do good things like telling you not to push your mate into the street instead of telling you not to smoke the wacky tobacco or not to do this or not to get married to another man if you are a man.
Yeah, those are the bad propaganda parts. Like, stay out of my life. But you can still try to shame me out of it. I don't care. Just don't make it, don't bring me down, yo.
Don't call the cops, man.
Don't call the cops. Last thing I wanted to talk about, because this just annoys me. Do you remember Steve Harvey? You remember that comedian dude? He wrote a book.
Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey. Yeah, I got a picture of him right on my computer.
Is he the guy from that Eddie Murphy movie, Harlem Nights?
I don't know that movie.
Okay, well.
Maybe. He was one of the original Kings of Comedy or whatever. He had his own show, Steve Harvey Show. I've never found the man funny. Presumably he has a demographic out there. Yay for him. Guy's been married 3 times, so he decides to write a book on relationships. I don't know. Presumably he thinks he knows a thing or two after failure. You usually learn from failure. Okay, give him the benefit of the doubt. So he goes on the Tyra Banks show, comes on, and he basically gives advice to women saying, do not date atheists. They have no morals. He's just going on a tirade. Just basically saying that we are just monsters and animals and have, we're shit. Goes on Larry King Live, does it again. He does it again. It's not like one of those, well, do you sure you want to repudiate your statements? Absolutely not. Absolutely fucking not. So now the Good Morning America is giving him a fucking spot on his show. Now I want to ask
spot on their show?
Spot on their show. He was going to have a regular segment that they will include where he answers questions and stuff like that from viewers and listeners. And I'm going to ask you this, and it's a pretty simple fucking question, that had he said this about Jews, would he be on Good Morning America? I don't think so.
Yeah, no. I'll agree with you. That's kind of what I was thinking.
It's fucking bullshit that people are allowed to get away with that kind of stuff. We are, as atheists, we get called out and said, oh, you're so intolerant, that kind of stuff. We don't say the kind of shit like that in mainstream media. We don't go along saying, well, they got no morals and they're absolutely evil and don't date them. Like, you can't say that and expect no fucking reprisals. I'm sorry. You just cannot.
I can agree. I mean, the truth be told, though, I think if we went through all of our old shows with a fine-tooth comb, there would be some horrible things we've said. But,
we're in the business of horrible, though. I don't have a spot on Good Morning America. If you wanted to just say that you're kind of a comedian, you enjoy controversy, that's fine. But he didn't say it for comedic reasons. He just basically believes it. He fucking believes it. And you know what? That fucking bugs me. That really bugs me.
Truth be told, I actually kind of like people like that saying stuff like that. It brings things to a head.
Well, it does bring things to a head, but I do think that a major morning television station should stay out of that.
I'm sure he'll say something equally offensive sooner or later because that's just how it rolls, and Good Morning America will learn their lesson.
I think, well, Steve Harvey is a very clever businessman is what I'll give him, and I think he sees that there is a potential market in telling fat Christian ladies that they can't trust skinny atheists or something.
What about fat atheists? Fat atheists can be trusted?
No. His demographic is fat, lonely ladies who like reading his book and hoping that they're going to get married someday. That's his demo. That's his, and he loves that demo. I mean, Tyra Banks' show. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
He was on that show. Okay. Enough said.
Cool.
Enough said. Okay, with that, we're going to wrap things up. We're going to catch everybody for the regular free show. We'd like to thank you for becoming patrons. That is awesome, and we love you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, think about this. Every so often we say, hey, who wants to support the good atheist? And people do it. So just going back to that whole government thing, it's a good thing when governments go and say, hey, masses, mobilize, do good things.
Do good. Doing good is good.
So we just managed to pull it off on a smaller level, and we're just really happy that works.